For the 50th edition of this series where I break down rap beefs that you love to hear about, we're going to take it back to another classic, one of the big ones of its time. This one involves 50 Cent, because hey, his name has 50 in it, and he's been in a whole lot of rap beefs. G-Unit, coming from Southside Jamaica, Queens, and the Locks from Yonkers have a beef that goes back to the days when 50 was beefing with New York rappers like it was his job and taking shots at anyone associated with Ja Rule. Ironically enough, 50 actually complimented the Locks on the track Back Down, which was a diss track aimed at Ja Rule and featured on Get Rich or Die Tryin, which is one of my favorite songs from that album. He has the line, "I'm the hardest from New York, my flow is bonkers, all the other hard niggas, they come from Yonkers," which was a reference to the Locks, or at least you might think so, as later on in an interview with DJ K Slay during 50's beef with the Locks, he stated that he was referring to DMX with that line, as he is also from Yonkers, and DMX and the Locks were both signed to Rough Riders and made music together.
I don't even understand why Jada would be supporting Ja on the I'm from New York record when he was calling X a crackhead last week. In my head, DMX is Rough Riders. When I was saying that all the other hard just come from Yonkers, I was making a reference to DMX, man. The
first shot, you could say, actually came from J Hood, who was a young rapper that was around the Locks and eventually signed to their label D Block Records. In 1999, 50 Cent released the infamous How to Rob song, which was a fictional tale about robbing a bunch of different artists in the industry, which prompted several rappers to respond. One of those being J Hood, who did a freestyle using the beat from the 50 Cent song Your Life's on the Line. This freestyle may or may not have ever been heard by 50, but things escalated to a verbal war between the two groups in 2004 when Ja Rule released the hit single New York from his 6th album, R.U.L.E. On that track, Ja dissed 50 on his verse, and Fat Joe and Jadakiss are featured on the song as well. So like I said earlier, 50 decided to bring them into the beef. This probably sounds quite familiar if you've watched my videos regarding the 50 Cent and Ja Rule beef or 50 and Fat Joe. From this point, it was on between the two groups. 50 being 50 did what he does best and took aim at Jadakiss on the single Piggy Bank from his 2nd album, The Massacre, released in February 2005. He disses Jada on the end of his first verse with the lines, "Jada, don't fuck with me if you wanna eat, cause I'll do your little ass like Jay did Mobb Deep. Yeah, homie, in New York niggas like your vocals, but that's only New York, dog. Your ass is local." Which of course was 50 taking a shot at Jada for not being as well known or high a selling artist as himself. He also took a shot at Jada on the hit single Window Shopper from the Get Rich or Die Tryin film soundtrack released in November 2005. The soundtrack version of the song leaves you to question who he's referring to, as he doesn't mention any names, but on the original version of the song, on the chorus, 50 names Ja, Jada, Fat Joe, and Nas as the window shoppers in question. Once again, 50 dissing his foes for not making money like he does. Both of them are among my favorite songs by 50. He has a knack for making some pretty catchy songs, though these might not be the best diss tracks at all. In response to Piggy Bank, Jadakiss responded along with the other Locks members Styles P and Sheek Louch, and also their D-Block signee J Hood. Now, there's a lot of tracks from the crew that took shots at 50 and G-Unit, and I'm going to run through them. If there's any that I missed, leave a comment with the name. We're starting off with the Jada response to Piggy Bank. Using the beat from the Big Noid track Air It Out, which is also the beat 50 used on the track I'm an Animal, on which he disses Murder Inc., Jadakiss released the track Checkmate, which is yet another one of my favorite diss tracks and probably the best diss track I've ever heard aimed at 50. On the intro, Jada congratulates 50 on selling over 1 million records with the Massacre album. From the very beginning of his verse though, he makes it pretty clear that the gloves are off, or rather that the gloves are on, for this sparring match with the lines, "We gon' handle this like grown men, you won't win, you don't even feel comfortable in your own skin, I rap my ass off, I'm fighting the champ with the glass jaw at the Garden of Nassau." Of course, 50 was the champ of rap around this time, based on things like sales, and Jada is making it clear that he could beat him in regards to pure rapping. He then calls 50 a snitch with the lines, "See me couple hood niggas behind stars, I heard you put a couple good niggas behind bars, I might never sell that much, but you could bet your last 2 quarters I'll never tell that much," which is a reference to the Ghetto Quran track where 50 talked about drug dealers from his neighborhood like Preem and Prince from the Supreme team, which some considered snitching in a way. Jada has plenty of other lines here aimed at 50, but one of the hardest hitting lines is a simple question that he asks. This is a true fact, since when has it become cool to get shot and not shoot back? That of course is a reference to the fact that 50 is well known for being shot multiple times and surviving, which is something he's talked about in interviews and in his music. He then expands on this with the lines, "You ain't get shot again yet, so what's your second album about?" And then ends the verse with even more lines about 50 shooting with, "It'll take a lifetime to see Kiss, you had to get shot 9 times to be rich." Once again really driving home the point that 50 essentially became huge partly due to being a victim of a shooting. He also has the lines, "You should just sell clothes and sneakers, cause out of your whole camp, your flow is the weakest," which to me is pretty funny. Jada claiming that the rest of G-Unit all rap better than 50. To be fair though, I definitely say Banks is a better rapper, but I don't know about Yayo. In response to Checkmate, G-Unit put out the track I Run New York, featuring 50 Cent and Tony Yayo, which was featured on the mixtape G-Unit Radio Part 11. On the track, 50 sends shots at Jadakiss and Styles P with lines talking about being the boss of Interscope and how they're employees and he can push their albums back. In the chorus, he states that even though he lives in Connecticut, he still runs New York, which can be seen as a direct response to the Jada line from Checkmate where he claimed that 50 can't be the king of New York because he lives in Connecticut. On the second verse of the track, Tony Yayo takes direct shots at the Lox with the lines, "My money longer than yours, nigga, call your recruits. The Lox made more money in them damn shiny suits. The game about sales, drugs, and rapping. Jada, fuck your punchlines, my shirt went platinum. Styles and Sheek Louch went double plastic. Yayo, Bucks, and Banks is putting out classics." Taking aim at the group for the fact that G-Unit members were selling more records than the Lox. Then 50 comes back for the outro to talk a whole lot of crap. That's always fun, right? Not long after this, Jada and Styles replied with the track Problem Child, which is named after the 50 Cent song of the same name and uses the same beat. Jada starts his verse off with the lines, "Yo, can't really figure this clown out. Where is he from? Jamaica, Queens, Cali, or down south? I could get a LA gun hit him, but Grape Street already told me you paying to run with him." Likely taking aim at 50 for being from New York, but signing to Dr. Dre, who was from Cali, and for 50 sounding like a southern rapper, and also could be a reference to Young Buck, who was from the South, being a member of G-Unit, as well as Game briefly being a member who was from LA. He then has a rhyme scheme referencing some other well-known rappers with the lines, "Without Dr. Dre, you would just make slow jams. Come up out of that witness protection program. Hov don't really respect you. Get in your place. If B.I.G. was alive, he'd probably spit in your face. Nas was doing just fine without you, and Pac probably would have made an album about you. So I guess that just leaves me here to get rid of you. And Rakim and them, they don't even consider you. M know you ain't got nothing for Jada, and I know he appreciates all the money you made him." My favorite lines from the song though have to be, "Yeah, you sold more records than me, but in the streets you gon' always be second to me. We was damn near feeling you, even though your career is based off somebody damn near killing you." Which is Jada dissing 50 for selling more records but having to basically get nearly murdered in order to do so. Kinda like a publicity stunt gone wrong. Styles P starts his verse off with some of the best lines in the song. "D-Block, don't think it, nigga. Take a piss in your Formula 50. Drink it, nigga. Get shot out the Reeboks, nigga. Got shot and ain't shoot none back. Use a biatch, nigga." At this point, 50 had a deal for vitamin water as well as a Reebok deal for G-Unit sneakers, which once again gave the Lox ammo to use against 50. Essentially that he was all about making money rather than rapping, which they used to their advantage. Styles then makes a reference to 50 being a snitch with the lines, "In the streets they say 50 who shot ya. Named 3 niggas soon as he came out the doctor. And you far from a gangster, nigga. You was talking about yourself when you made wankster, nigga." Which are some of the funniest lines in the track. Another track by the two is the aptly named Shots Fired, which has Jada and Styles going line for line taking direct shots at 50 through the whole track. The subject matter being mostly more of the same, taking aim at 50 for making the Ghetto Quran track, allegedly being a snitch, dissing Ja Rule for singing and then singing on songs himself, and for rolling around with security. The chorus has Styles P repeating the title of the song, Shots Fired. The various threats of gun violence to 50 probably hits home considering that he was almost killed. If you think about this song in that aspect, then the lines, "You could never worry me, I know you've been to jail, you also been to therapy," hit really hard because after trauma, people wind up going to therapy, and if it's from an injury, they often wind up going to physical therapy in particular. So yeah, this track seemed a bit of a psychological thing coming from Jada and Styles, and is another one of the biggest tracks from the Lox' side. They also put out the track I'm Sorry Miss Jackson, on which they used the beat from the classic Outkast song Miss Jackson from their album Stankonia. On their verses, they refer to 50 Cent as a woman, just as on the Outkast track, the song is dedicated to the mother of the woman they're referring to. Jada begins his verse with the lines, "Tried to diss Kiss to the world and it's your fault cause she said she saw you kissing a girl," which is a reference to the hit single Hate It or Love It by The Game featuring 50 Cent from Game's documentary album, when 50 says on his verse that he saw his mother kissing a girl when he was growing up. Jada ends his verse with the lines, "I did the song with Ja Rule bigging the city up. She did the Magic Stick remix with Olivia. She got more money but I get busier. Think somebody gonna end up killing her." Once again referring to him making hard songs and putting on for New York, while 50 is making hit records. Styles on his verse does more of the same, taking shots at 50 for getting rich and leaving the hood, and singing on his hit songs with lines like, "Bitch moved out New York when they were swinging them Glocks. Bitch got a deep voice but she be singing a lot. Bitch would sell her soul just to get on the charts. Wanna front like she's gangster but she got no heart." Once again, another one of the best diss tracks from the group. Styles P had a mixtape around this time titled Ghost in the Machine, which featured skits and songs aimed at G-Unit. One such freestyle is to the I Know You Don't Love Me beat from Tony Yayo's debut album, Thoughts of a Predicate Felon. On the track, Styles sends the usual shots at them, like saying they don't come to the hood anymore, and sends a shot at Yayo saying that 50 doesn't even respect him. Then on yet another freestyle, Styles disses the group again, this time on the beat to 50's song In My Hood from the Massacre album. Just like on the other freestyle, he disses Yayo once again by basically saying that he isn't worth dissing, and doesn't mention him by name, unlike Banks, Buck, and 50. Keeping it on Styles for another minute, on the track G-Joint from his second album, Time Is Money, Styles sends a shot at Young Buck and G-Unit. J Hood, who was featured on the song, does as well with the lines, "All these so-called gorillas be telling, how a rat gon' give you thoughts of a predicate felon." J Hood also disses G-Unit with a freestyle using the beat to the track Be a Gentleman by 50 Cent. On his verse, he has some pretty funny lines against the unit, like Marvin talking that burner shit when all he do is jerk off and deep throat his man Curtis dick. This nigga looking all flabby and sick. For those that don't know, Marvin is Tony Yayo's first name. Jada and Styles took plenty of shots at G-Unit, but Sheek Louch wasn't left out of the situation at all. He might be the least talked about member of the trio, but he showed up when it was time to put out diss tracks. On Sheek's second solo album, After Taxes, released in November 2005, he has the track Maybe If I Sing, on which he disses 50, Banks, and Buck respectively. Sheek comes out swinging with the lines, 50, you a rat, you a coward, you a snitch, you a bitch motherfucker, now hear this. All you talk about is money and sales. What you need to talk about is all them niggas that you put in them jails. As you can see, these guys really love to call 50 a snitch. As I've probably mentioned in another one of my videos talking about 50 Cent's rap beefs, the snitching allegations was a big target used against him. The second verse he aims at Banks, and then the third verse is aimed at Buck. Sheek and Jadakiss also dissed G-Unit on a freestyle using the beat from the Jim Jones song G'd Up, which features Max B and is on Jim Jones' second solo album, Harlem, Diary of a Summer, released in August 2005. Sheek continued on dissing G-Unit later on as he released a mixtape titled Year of the Wolf, on which he sends shots at G-Unit on several tracks. I'm going to run through these tracks from the mixtape, starting with Body Blows, yet another track taking aim at 50, basically for bragging about his money and record sales rather than rapping. On the outro of the track, Sheek basically invites 50 to respond with some bars rather than singing, which was kind of funny. On the track Buck Buck Buck, he appears to send a shot at 50 again with the lines, I done seen every gangster movie that is out and none of them resemble the bullshit you about. Hitting on that bitch ain't gangster, cause you ain't hit the other nigga back when he shanked you. With your pimp ass and your pimp glass, you get your shit smashed, broken up like hash, you need a face cast. PIMP is a hit single from 50's Get Rich or Die Tryin album, so this is likely a reference to that. Then on the track Twins Shit, Sheek has the line, I don't window shop at 30, that ain't fly. In 2005, 50 released the track Window Shopper, and also he turned 30 that year, which would make this seem to be a pretty clear shot at 50. Then on the mixtape is a skit titled Message to the Snitch, which is also aimed at 50. The track Clickety Clank is also a diss, as you could tell by the title being a reference to Piggy Bank. He starts his verse off calling 50's Piggy Bank track garbage and saying that he likes Young Buck but it's war so he's getting dissed regardless, and then claims that Lloyd Banks stole Fabulous's style. Tony Yayo once again gets dismissed as not worth dissing. He then makes a reference to 50's line from Back Down about Yonkers. Like I said earlier, 50 said in an interview that he was referring to DMX, but even if he was, the line once again gave the Lox a good angle to come at 50 from. Then on the track Hey 50 featuring J Hood, the two take aim at 50 once again, as you could probably tell from the title. Sheek starts his first verse off with the lines, "Yes indeed, New York City, you now rockin' with the hardest nigga, fuck you 50, enough about him and stuff about them, they already know that they not gonna win." And that's pretty much how you could sum up this track. Also, the song samples the 1984 song Hey DJ by the world's famous Supreme Team. Then on the track Lies and Rumors, Sheek sends another shot at G-Unit with the lines, "What you shaking for, killer? Ain't your ass a gorilla? I can't hear you, screw this fool, let's get a chinchilla." For those that don't know, the G in G-Unit stands for gorilla, so with that in mind, this would appear to be a subliminal shot at the unit. Next up is the track Let's Bounce, on which Sheek Louch uses the beat for the remix of the song Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless from the Lost Boys' debut album Legal Drug Money. On the chorus, Sheek has the lines, "Niggas pussy and you know who you are, without security, don't even leave the car," which once again would seem to be a subliminal shot at G-Unit, as one of the big things people were dissing 50 about was him having security. Then on his verse, he has a line about hearing about his group having beef with someone, which once again appears to be a reference to their beef with G-Unit. You might wonder if Sheek was done dissing G-Unit yet? Well, the answer to that would be no. He also released the mixtape Still a Wolf, which had him taking more shots at the group. One of those tracks being Heard 'Em Say, which uses the beat from the Ye song of the same name from his late Registration album. On this track, Sheek makes a reference to a run-in he had with Young Buck with the lines, "I heard a nigga lying how I bumped into Buck. Nigga, I ain't even seen you when I got up out the truck. I came to read for the soprano. Nigga, you was more low-key than Kanye's piano. Fuck what he told you. Styles say, what up? You replied, I'm just a soldier. And it wasn't even beef. No one tried to fold you." On the G-Unit track 300 Shots, Young Buck on his verse has the lines, "I used to listen to Jada, I've never listened to Joe. I couldn't tell you how one of his verses go. Seen Styles and Sheek out here doing promo. I was like, what up? And they was like, uh-oh." Which of course was a shot at the Lox and the lines Sheek seemed to be responding to. On another freestyle, this one using the beat from the Lil Kim song Lighters Up, Sheek sent shots again at G-Unit. He disses 50 for being a snitch yet again, and he finishes his verse with the lines, "Welcome to D-Block, I told you that we don't play. I'm reading your book to study my prey. I'm saying to myself this nigga is gay. He gon' get us all locked away. I want you to keep coming. If it was Ja, you would've kept coming. Now it seemed like you running. Welcome to D-Block." So yeah, according to Sheek, 50 is scared to go at the Lox, which if you compare the sheer amount of disses from one side to the other, it's debatable. The book line is likely a reference to the book From Pieces to Weight, Once Upon a Time in Southside Queens, which 50 had released around this time. On yet another freestyle, Sheek raps over the beat from the song That's That Shit by Snoop Dogg from his 8th album Blue Carpet Treatment. On the track, he disses the unit with the lines, "I discredit niggas, look what we did to 50, Sheek doing it, they ain't moving units on the unit. Banks fucked up, Yayo stale, you notice he ain't on shit, niggas don't think that he real, MOP's my nigga, Mobb Deep is my boys, but y'all should bounce, y'all was making a whole lot more noise." These lines have some truth to it, as Yayo didn't release another album after his debut, and Mobb Deep and MOP already had careers before they signed the G-Unit and were relatively well-known artists, especially in New York. The funniest line though comes in later on in the verse, with Sheek having some self-deprecating humor with the lines, "I ain't on vacation, I ain't got no sandals like Jigga, my money fucked up, I'm not in they league." He also disses Olivia by saying that sheer flop, which once again had some truth to it, as she didn't even release an album while she was with G-Unit. Her self-titled debut album was released in 2001, before she joined up with them. Ironically enough, Sheek also has a line in there about the beef between the groups being over. I guess they were claiming their victory. Real quick, I just want to give props to Sheek Louch for really taking up the beef and releasing the most diss tracks amongst everyone involved. Like half the tracks I've seen involving the two groups are freestyles by Sheek. He said as much on a Vlad TV interview years later that he kept the diss tracks going even after Jada had stopped. Yet another diss track was titled Bag 'Em, which uses the beat from the Tierra Marie track Make Her Feel Good from her debut album. On his verse, he sends shots at the unit once again, but claims that he's cool with Game, most likely because at this point, Game was kicked out of G-Unit and they were now beefing as well, with Game sending a load of diss tracks to 50 and the unit also. He also performed part of this verse on a Rap City freestyle in 2006. Sheek also put out yet another diss track aimed at G-Unit, this one titled Kill Yourself. No subtlety on this one. The song starts off with a sample from Back Down, once again the line about Yonkers. Then on the chorus, Sheek sings, mocking 50 for allegedly snitching and having cops as security. In his first verse, he has the lines, "They don't know Kiss in Africa, shut up snitch, I know Sway wanted to ask you way more than he did, like why the fuck Supreme and them doing a bid, and why can't you come around where you hung as a kid?" Which is a reference to an interview that 50 had with Sway on MTV back in 2005. Sway asked 50 about his beef with Fat Joe and Jadakiss.
Fat Joe and Jadakiss, come on, baby. This don't even count, babe.
I mean, combined, I mean, they sell records, they got credibility.
They sell 1 million. They probably sell 1.5 together. Their last 2 releases add up to 1,500,000 copies, both of them together.
Jadakiss is a well-liked guy. There's not many people in too many places who doesn't like him.
If you want to be technical, there's a lot of people, a lot of places that don't even know who Jadakiss is. I've been in markets that have no idea who Jadakiss is.
Who's your favorite music?
50 Cent.
50 Cent. 50 Cent gets everywhere.
You know, I performed in Nigeria in front of 100,000 people by myself. Go to Nigeria and ask them about Fat Joe and Jadakiss. And I didn't know who you're talking about.
On the third verse, Sheek takes a pretty humorous jab at 50 for the name of his albums with the lines, "Nigga, I'ma get rich or get rich. What the fuck is this Die Tryin shit about, bitch? And what massacre? Please say you meant mascara, cause the shit I heard is pretty as that white bitch Farrah." You might be asking yourself if G-Unit had any other diss tracks after all these tracks from the Lox, and the answer to that is yes, they did, and we're gonna get to that now. One of the tracks the unit put out is 5 Heartbeats. This song is pretty interesting besides being a diss track to the Lox. If you listen to The Breakfast Club on 105.1, then you'll probably recognize the outro of this song, as that's where they get their soundbite from that they use in the show for Donkey of the Day. Also, if you've seen my video on the beef between Joe Budden and G-Unit, then you might remember that Joe on his diss tracks was calling G-Unit the 5 Heartbeats because of the singing 50 would do on their songs. On 50's verse, he has the lines, "I got a 16-shot Ruger, I got 16 calls all over how I write 16 bars. Ja, Joe, and Jada, they're fucking retards. I run in the scope, oh my god." Once again taking shots at them for the fact that he makes more money than they do in typical 50 fashion. Lloyd Banks also took up the mantle to strike back at the Lox on some diss tracks of his own. He has the track Death Wish aimed at Fat Joe and the Lox. He ends his first verse with the lines, "These niggas been around since Biggie and ain't blow yet. Damn, how many chances you think they gon' get? Cause I remember when they suits was shiny, now they in army fatigues, boots and grimy. My back to the wind and my troops behind me, and if I get jiggy, the suits Armani." Which of course is a diss aimed at the Lox for when they had the shiny suits on when they were signed to Bad Boy and released their debut album. Not a bad diss track from Lloyd. As usual in G-Unit beefs, he tends to be the one going back and forth on record with people. Another track that he put out is called It Ain't a Secret, which was also aimed at Fat Joe and the Lox. On the second verse, he has the lines, "I'ma still be here when D-Block flops. I got more cash than them in my Reeboks box." Once again, G-Unit talking about the records they sold and the money they made, while Lox focuses on their lyrical ability and reputation in the streets. I ain't mad at it. The diss tracks eventually stopped, and sometime in 2007, 50 and Styles P had a conversation live on the radio with Angie Martinez while 50 was there for an interview. Angie got Styles on the phone and they talked about Styles' current record label situation, and 50 offered to help Styles out with getting into a better deal after Styles said he was a free agent.
What is your situation right now, Styles?
Who, me? Oh, thank you, bro. You helped me out, man. You helped me out more than anything.
Nah, I'm just saying to you right now, like, because I don't know what, like, I didn't hear anything.
Wait,
about
what?
I'm a free agent, man.
Huh?
I'm a free agent.
You're a free agent.
Wait,
Yeah,
is this the first time you two have spoken?
This is the first time we had a conversation, period.
Ever?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, being a free agent, you know what I think would be the best person to broker a deal for you right now?
You.
50 Cent.
Styles went off on 50, telling him that he acts industry and essentially forgot where he came from.
Like, let me be real with you, bro.
Yeah.
I like you. Like, I like the old 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I dug you a lot. You was like a cool cat.
This is
but
the beginning,
I think you got
right?
two industry. Like, when I hear you on the radio and stuff, like, I don't get mad. I ain't like them other rappers. We don't get mad. You know, we don't get mad at the lyrics or nothing.
You know what it is?
But you can't laugh like when I hear you laugh, like that Preem got convicted.
Yeah.
That ain't right, bro. You know, you supposed to be from the hood, like.
They also talk about how 50 had the power to get Styles' album pushed back. Styles' second album, Time Is Money, was indeed pushed back on multiple occasions, which explains the 4-year gap between his solo debut album, A Gangsta and a Gentleman, released in 2002, and his second album released in November 2006. Rough Riders was distributed by Interscope Records, so who's to say what 50 was doing behind the scenes given his connections to Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. They also talk about more things like major record labels versus indie labels, and Styles also congratulates 50 for all the records he sold. Funny enough, the indie label Koch Records was mentioned, which if you remember my video on the beef between 50 and Cam'ron, 50 had a conversation on the radio with Cam'ron as well about Koch Records, as Jim Jones from Dipset was on the label. Then in 2009, the beef was truly resolved between the two as 50 would make an appearance at the studio with Jadakiss, which Jada would state that they talked for a while and resolved things.
Yeah, it's a
so
beautiful,
wait, but he
it's
said
good.
he went up to Yonkers.
He came up to D Block. Came to D Block by himself.
Solo.
MacBook.
He rode up
came
there.
in. Yeah.
I seen the pictures on Instagram. I was at
Louch
West
was
Coast with
getting some
Ghostface.
money in Denver.
He came. Listen, everybody be like, "Yo, you see, Sheek wasn't there, so yo, man."
Nah, he was just.
No,
he
man.
wasn't
Shout out
just
to
there.
Fifth and everybody,
he
man.
There, yeah.
You were protesting
Yeah,
somewhere
exactly.
else.
Nah, not at all. Word up.
So how did that happen? And have you guys been cool for some time?
I mean, if you know from the beginning of the thing, he already said all the other hard rappers, they come from Yonkers. So you could already, it was always a mutual respect as a fan, just doing the same kind of music. Him coming from Southside Jamaica, us coming from YO. We all, before we ever met each other, we were fans of each other's music. Then
Also in 2009, 50 brought out the Lox to perform during his This Is 50 festival. After all those diss tracks back and forth, they did wind up doing some songs together, which I'm going to get into real quick. The first song that they had together is actually a DMX song from his album Grand Champ that was released in September 2003. 50 Cent and Styles P were both featured on the song Shot Down. Styles starts his verse off with the lines, "If your head ain't off of your shoulders, you ain't get shot, you got nipped, nigga. Cause if my chrome hit a piece of your bone, it's gonna do more than chip, nigga." In an interview Styles had on Matt Hoffa's My Expert Opinion, he mentioned that he was taking aim at 50 on his verse. If you've seen my video about the Jadakiss and Beanie Sigel beef, then this probably seems like a familiar thing, as Styles also did that on the song Reservoir Dogs by Jay-Z featuring Beanie Sigel, Source Money, and the Lox. After the beef was over though, they collaborated on several songs, like I said. One of the first being the track Respected from the Jadakiss mixtape Consignment, released in April 2012. The track features Fabulous and Lloyd Banks. On the Lloyd Banks mixtape All or Nothing, Failure's No Option, released in 2013, Styles P is featured on the song Cover Me. Then on 50 Cent's fifth album, Animal Ambition, released in June 2014, Jadakiss is featured on the track Irregular Heartbeat, and Styles P is featured on the track Chase the Paper. Also on Lloyd Banks' mixtape All or Nothing, Live It Up, released in September 2016, Styles P is featured again on the track Land of Opportunity. Both of those tracks by those two are favorites of mine from the mixtapes, so I definitely say to check them out and the rest of the mixtapes as well. Styles P also makes an appearance on Lloyd Banks' fourth album, Course of the Inevitable, released in June 2021 on the track Food. Jadakiss also makes an appearance on Lloyd Banks' fifth album, Course of the Inevitable 2, released in June 2022 on the track Power Steering. So yeah, as you can see, they have worked on several songs together and things appear to be cool between the groups since then. That pretty much sums up the beef between the groups. They've been on interviews here and there and have been asked multiple times about the beef, and mainly the sentiment that has been shared is like I said in the beginning. 50 started it because of Jada being on the New York record with Ja Rule and Fat Joe. There was no real personal issues amongst the groups, as they didn't even really know each other but did enjoy each other's music. What are your thoughts on the beef? Which track is your favorite from it? Mine is definitely Checkmate, and it's one of my favorite diss tracks of all time. From a lyrical standpoint, the Lox takes this one for me. G-Unit had their record sales and other business dealings, but the Lox did a pretty decent job dismantling that. As I said in the beginning, this was the 50th edition of the Rap Beefs, and there's plenty more to come. Check out the playlist in the description where you can see every single video I put out covering rap beefs since the inception of the channel. However, as I've mentioned before, this isn't just about rap beefs, and I have several other topics in hip hop I want to cover still, so stay tuned for all of it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this beef and what you'd like me to cover. Click the thumbs up button to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the Discord server and Patreon with the links in the description.